about how peculiar it is that linear time ended almost 2,000 years ago and started up again? The Andromedans, who watch over the Milky Way galaxy from an idealized perspective as a twin galaxy, call this moment in time the cosmic restart button, and it is the key to understanding all the powerful agencies of the Holy Roman Empire. The Caesars, for example, believed they were creating temples for the new Nibirian cycle that began during their reign. There were many signs of Nibiru as Julius Caesar was rising to power. He claimed lineage from the gods as a priest of Jupiter, and he declared that the Hebrew calendar, which began in 3760 BC when Nibiru was entering the solar system, had come to an end and a new one was beginning. Once Julius Caesar attained control of Rome, he abolished the lunar-based Etruscan calendar, and he set up the solar-based Julian calendar. Since he was high priest of the Temple of Jupiter, he named the new solar calendar after himself and announced that the new chosen people were the Romans. There have been various calendar manipulations, such as the ecclesiastical calendar, set up at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, and the Gregorian calendar established by Gregory XIII in 1582. These modifications have drawn our attention away from the remarkable fact that the Romans controlled reality enough to put into place a calendar in which time descends to 0 point and then goes forward forever. What did happen at 0 point? Well, it's very funny. The Romans got hoodwinked because they had their eyes fixated on the skies. Remarkable multidimensional beings incarnate on Earth during the key cyclical change points, and there were many around 0 point, such as Christ, the Buddha, and Alexander the Great a few hundred years before. The Romans were standing on the parapets of their great temples waiting for the ships to land, while Christ was born under their noses in the Levant. At 0 point, the law was the Mosaic Code, a legacy of codes from the Sumerians, then the Babylonians, then the Israelites. These codes were all vestiges of Anunnaki systems, and the Caesars planned to use them to take over the earth at 0 point. The Anunnaki had set up the temple city system based on the laws of the Sumerian cities in 3600 BC. These codes spread through many cultures who would await their return at 0 point. The Caesars, through the Temple of Jupiter, were in control when it was time for the planetary return. The Anunnaki were able to utilize the Roman Empire by impulsing them into becoming Nibirian legions. This was easy, since they had already succeeded getting several other cultures, such as the Jews, to go for being chosen. Time would actually cease, and the Sumerian Shar system would begin at 0 point, and this would establish dominion in time, the new world order. But another agenda was thrown into the middle of the pot. A Jewish rabbi married to the priestess of Isis in Jerusalem was triggering multidimensional consciousness in the Levant. When Nibiru was closest to the sun after 0 point, Christ cleared the money changers out of the temple at the Dome of the Rock, and he sent out a signal that has never been forgotten. Just as the ultimate power grab was being set up, he changed the dynamic by purging the leeches from the power vortex, and deep inside, you all believe you will throw off the bloodsuckers eventually. Christ radiated exquisite heart energy all over the world. This was more potent than all the energy that could be activated in Rome, with at least 13 Egyptian obelisks pointed to the sky. Christ set up a ceremony called the Eucharist with 72 disciples as a symbol for taking total control of a double Shar, twice the 3,600-year orbit of Nibiru. By using Anunnaki symbols, everything he established was absorbed right into the Roman Empire like cosmic keys into locks. Next, Anu selected the Holy Roman Catholic Church as his personal device for ruling the planet. Rome would fall eventually, but an official church organized around Christ would prevail, since humans are most easily manipulated by means of religion. Anu never had such a big project. The Roman Catholic Church would be the next official Anunnaki establishment. To accomplish this, all its priests would have to be celibate, based on the premise that Christ was celibate. Women would have to be disempowered, and the Eucharist would be celebrated by male priests who had never entered a woman. All knowledge of multi-lifetimes would have to be erased, so that people would learn to be terrified of death, and fear of death would limit multidimensional contact. This would offer the Anunnaki total dominion of Earth, and prevent multidimensional access to humans. All humans would be locked in 3D, so that the Anunnaki would not get foiled the next time they orbited back into the solar system in 3600 AD. This was a dark hour on Earth, the imposition of the net, and its energy first came over the planet when a terrible thunderstorm wreaked havoc in Jerusalem when Christ died on the cross. As a result of the 9D activation by Christ, the Anunnaki knew by monitoring your feelings that a power was present on the planet that was greater than their power. Therefore, they had to cover it up. They simply stole all the powers of Christ and encapsulated the archetype in the Holy Roman Empire, and all the energy flowed into the Holy Roman Catholic Church once Rome fell to the barbarians. The Roman Catholic Church has overlaid and controlled Christ consciousness by using Christ as fuel, like the fuel rods in a nuclear reactor, to create its own realities over the last 2,000 years. Now, due to the collapse of the Church, the fuel is escaping the tank because you've learned how to pump the gas yourselves. Messiah means message, but to be effective, it has to be received. The Roman Catholic Church set up a time-coded release of Christ to 2000 AD. He came, his mission was aborted, and he would come again in the fulfillment of the Church. This way, everybody would be waiting for him, paying church tithes, and always waiting for him instead of awakening themselves. The very essence of the Pleiadian awakening is the reawakening of the erotic Christ, the cosmic progenitor of humankind. The phallus is meant to be used. The emasculation of Christ is the greatest lie in history. Literally, the whole structure of the Roman Catholic Church is built upon the dismemberment of Osiris, whose story is the ultimate loss of human multidimensional contact. Once you remember your multidimensionality, Christ will awaken in you because it is time. Once this happens, all organized religions will be pulverized. Who among you could have imagined that the membership of the Roman Catholic Church would be cut in half since 1972? The Church has been pushed into bankruptcy because the only sexual outlet left for its emasculated priests is altar boys. The time for the erotic and alchemical Christ has come, and desire is the key to this awakening. Alchemy is a process of transforming something ordinary into something precious. Women are the carriers of the goddess. In any system, the goddess, the female species, rules what is home, what is being located, and so they are the guardians of place. This is not to say women cannot be warriors or kings. It is to say that they carry intuitive knowledge about the real purpose of place, and they should be consulted about all important issues regarding home, especially war. In the Pleiades, we goddesses must be consulted about war. As the patriarchy has taken power on earth, women have been considered ordinary, and they have been displaced as rulers. Now I, Sacha, have come to help you remember that in your realm, women are the ones who transmute this sacred elixir of life, the fertilized egg, into incarnational form. Women have intuitive understanding of alchemy far superior to the male, and in the Pleiades, the goddess rules alchemy of the spirit. Women know how to create in time and activate space for new life, and they will lead the men into the new alchemy. This is exactly what will move you into realms that will stretch you beyond limitation. The primary record keeper of time on earth is your moon, and so we will begin with the moon speaking to you. I am the moon. I come from the surface of the planet Jupiter. The moons of Jupiter are made of the same material as I am, but I orbit around Earth and not Jupiter. The moons of Jupiter mirror Jupiterian consciousness back to Jupiter, as I mirror the consciousness of Earth back to you. As the moon, I feel energy through silvery ray vibrations. The closest thing you know of this kind of perception is the silvery gossamer light shimmering on the surface of calm water when the full moon rises. My light is opalescent and translucent, like the flesh of a beautiful young woman's face. I have canyons and craters on my surface, which is almost devoid of electromagnetic energy. My vibrations are so ethereal that there is almost no charge in me. I am completely balanced. I have many deep craters from asteroids and comets on my surface, and we have consciousness centers deep inside them, little round, white, domed temples. We emit thought from these structures, and you receive it as dreams. These domes transmit our luminescent, ethereal frequencies and hold the records of your memories in your subconscious mental banks. I transmit these frequencies to those individuals who magnetically draw my energy. Humans, animals, and various other life forms literally magnetize or draw consciousness from me. When you go through some kind of struggle, such as illness or disease, and you don't have the means in the physical to change this vibration, often you feel that the problem is emotional. When you get to the point where you really see that physical solutions are not the only possibility, I can transmit extremely accurate and valuable information to you. You've heard comments that beings from many realms fight to be born in a body on Earth. The reason for this is that whenever you have a lifetime on Earth, you can consciously work with your lunar subconscious memory banks, and this cannot be done in any other location. Naturally, some memories are traumatic and tend to limit your expressive potential in each new lifetime. As many of you know from doing body work and spiritual therapy, if you were able to recover a negative past life memory, explore it, and release it when your body is ready, you end up being lighter, more harmonic, and happier. Because of my cycles, lunar nodes, eclipses, and phases, I am a screen for the surface of Earth for all of the other stellar, planetary, and solar energies. From an astronomical point of view, there is no way that I, your moon, could screen the whole surface of the planet from all these influences. However, I gather the solar winds in my craters and canyons as I travel around the earth for 28 days. Like a woman who always pays subtle attention to her man, I create a screening force, which is a gossamer web of feelings on earth. The energy fields of the other bodies in your solar system reach the surface of Earth mostly by means of my light, and I transduce those energies into codes that you can comprehend through your emotions. You feel transmissions of the planets and the sun from my light. That is how fine vibrations of feelings are held in place and communicated. If it were not for my screening, you would, in a sense, be forced to deal with feelings from Pluto that are too deep. You'd get bombarded by too much aggression from Mars, or the intensity of the sun would exhaust you. I am like a great wave of feeling that rises, peaks, and ebbs over 28 days. I exist to calibrate these great forces, and you can attune to my gossamer web of feelings by cultivating your own feelings, like a fertilized garden. I have been visited by beings from the sun, and they are very beautiful and powerful. They are emissaries from the 13th dimension, a dimension beyond the basic 10-dimensional system that you are working with. My surface is very cold, and when the solar emissaries come to visit, I feel a warmth on my surface, like the warmth you feel when you lie in the sun and feel its fire, the solar love. You are attuned to me, and feel my surface when you work with ritual consciousness in relationship to my subtle light. When you do moon ceremonies and eclipse meditations, you are accessing direct lines into my subtle emotional vibrations. These ceremonies are some of the most potent ones available to you on Earth. Whether you tune into me or not, I shower you with subtle sensations. These days I am very concerned about your polarized emotional bodies. You've become dualized because you emphasize your masculine side over your feminine. This blocks my soft lunar screen and overexposes you to planetary vibrations, such as control and manipulation by the Anunnaki. They have covertly shifted you away from your female side, and this is making it difficult for you to realize how you really feel about them. This is keeping you from seeing what they are creating in every sector of your societies. If you consciously activate your female essence, then you would feel our fine ethereal vibrations all the time. Attuning to the 13 moons greatly enhances your feminine nature. This is best accomplished by meditating during the new moon and noticing what special information is available. During my cycle of 13 moons, observe the reflected solar light increasing to the full moon and intensify those feelings. Then let go of all feelings and become empty within as it wanes. Become an empty vessel for the new moon. You can wash away your ego every month from the full moon to the next new moon. You can be reborn at the new moon 13 times a year. If you do this, a practice that was very advanced on your planet a long time ago and still exists in Bali, you will feel less driven by solar forces and planetary agendas. And all this is easy, because like a nude woman, I have made myself totally available to you by making myself visible. I am so beautiful. It is my responsibility to display the principle of 13 for you each solar year. This way you can feel the magical essence of 13 without thinking about it. The way for you to move the consciousness of 12 back into synchronicity-based 13 is by means of lunar cycles. Then the way to attain a structural basis is to develop solar consciousness through astrology. Astrology is the only tool you have for decoding feelings with thought. Other forms of thought throw you into your head and out of your heart. Alchemy occurs when my lunar light penetrates the 2D metallic consciousness of your planet. This occurs 13 times during each solar year during the new moon, when Earth shields my surface from the sun for only a few minutes. The 2D metallic elementals register the subtle emanations of stars at the time of the new moon, and your pineal glands register stellar emanations then. This recurrent field of receptive intelligence is the prima materia of alchemy. There is a new emotional field each lunar month. Mercury crystals in your pineal glands read this vibration, which is your source of galactic intelligence. Everything is vibration, and I can only reach you with a very soft vibration in total darkness. To summarize, I screen the field of the solar system to Earth all the time, and at the time of the new moon, in the darkness I imprint an emotional field of new potential. There are not exactly 13 moon cycles in 1 year, but every 18 years the moon returns to its same location on the ecliptic. This cycle is called the Metonic cycle, and is the most subtle of my cycles. You can attune to it just by observing where I am traveling in the sky, and you can keep your place around the sun in mind just by observing solstices and equinoxes. In this solar system, visual communication linkage is always very powerful, and that is why I am the ideal tool for you. Notice how powerful it is when planetary and stellar bodies are sighted in the sky. I am your friend, and I honor you when you gaze at me. You have bravely chosen to become self-reflective, and so I mirror the light of the sun to you. You cannot gaze directly into the sun, the source of your identity, but during the time when I am full, magnificent sunbeams come to me traveling on beams of light. I receive them 13 times each year, and I gather their power and shower their vibrations into the wombs of women. It's me, Sacha. On Alcyone, we access your reality via your moon because it allows us to know how you feel. When we access your sun, we link up stellar communications from the sun through Alcyone and into the galactic center, the cosmic communications system of Earth. When we read your moon, however, we feel your atmosphere, your tidal waters, your love intensity, and how you are captivated by mystery on a moonlit night. That is how we know your deepest longings and desires. Beings in 4D are triggering people so fast these days that this results in violence. As your emotional bodies are awakened by the photon band, you may react and carry out agendas too fast. Your bodies have not released the fear that's been awakened, and so fear comes out as violence instead of spiritual realization. Blood is what offers insight into this difficult subject. For what we Pleiadians are seeing is a killing frenzy. It is like a feeding frenzy of sharks in water, when spilled blood activates them as groups. Rwanda was one such bloodbath. So many people killing each other represents a profound degree of bloodletting. This is labeled ethnic cleansing. Meanwhile, considering blood as a taboo could offer more insight. Why are there so many taboos about blood, since bloodletting can be a very healthy experience? To the Pleiadians, all this attention to blood is a sign of spiritual awakening and spiritual crisis. You must face issues about blood, because the sooner you look deeply into blood taboos, the sooner you can find a better way to explore them. As I read your feelings about blood, I can feel that to you blood is sticky. It has a smell, it is very organic, and you spend a lot of time talking about the emotional body and emotional stickum, and it fascinates us that you do that. As I read you, You are murdering each other because of your own judgment about your own vital fluid, blood. If you will stop judging the very fluid that keeps you alive, then we Pleiadians will be able to read you via light codes, crystalline matrices in your blood. Then we will know how you feel. This is at a level that does not involve human free will. For example, we can read telluric forces on your planet, earth change potential, by means of the elementals, and so can you. We are reading your realm with great fascination and interest. You are feeling the awakening of the elementals, and we are picking up on incredible changes going on in the crystalline codes in your blood. How blood plays out in 3D is your choice, and the outcomes you feel are negative will continue until you, the carriers of this exquisite alchemical fluid, become conscious of your responsibilities, your abilities to respond. Your movement through time, your activation will not go away. And if it did go away, you would have stasis and no movement. You are not acting as if you choose that. In fact, you are acting like you are in the middle of a frenzy of activation that can propel you beyond the dilemma. It's just that you've not passed through this portal before. This is all new, and I caution you again that your wild fears of the photon band are unfounded, since what happened before does not create what happens now. What creates what happens now is the intention set for the future you sense you are converging into. That is the power of a spiral of time. We Pleiadians discover the most about ourselves in light, and you humans can discover the most about yourselves in blood. One of the ways you contact different dimensions is through the food you eat. I have noticed that you humans have a higher sex drive when you eat red meat, and I've noticed that fructarians lose their sex drive. This is more important than you think, because the Pleiadians have noticed that you tend to follow gurus and lose your freedom when you are sexually dormant. I've noticed you want little sex when you eat fruit. You want a little bit of sex when you eat vegetables, more when you eat rice and chicken, and you really go for it when you eat beef. Meanwhile, look how proud King Lizard is of his long spine and magnificent Kundalini energy. The reptiles have carried you through a long process of activation of your Kundalini powers for the last 225 million years, and much of this activation was enhanced by eating meat and blood. You are evolving to a less sexual level. You are becoming more androgynous, and you are experimenting. This is why you must not judge any of your processes. Your charge now is to understand your behavior before you rush to change it. Of course, some of you become vegetarians or fructarians simply because you feel like it. Gaia has agreed to allow you to create on her surface, and she is the most allowing and loving presence that you can comprehend. Christ transubstantiated your plant realm into blood, and then he set up a sacrament operating through time for increasing the resonance of Gaia in the plant realm. The plant realm is the green expression of the 2D elementals, as you humans are the red expression of the 2D elementals. Humans transduce elementals into electromagnetic communication systems, Kundalini energy, and plants transduce the elementals into a breathing system, oxygen and carbon dioxide. When you allow yourselves to take the time to feel the power of a great tree, you feel the planet breathe and you can communicate with the tree. Trees are very lonely for you, and you are losing your own ability to breathe by cutting the forests. The forests are slowly losing the memory of the garden, the mind of Gaia. Meanwhile, people, you are the keepers of the mind of Gaia, and once you remember this and feel this force, You will stop destroying your biological libraries, the forests of Gaia. Why do you think Christians were so intent on cutting the sacred oak groves of the Druids? Wake up! Wake up! Tell your brothers and sisters that they are the keepers of the mind of Gaia. The Christ consciousness is flooding into your planet from Sirius, and this reinvigorates the ancient Egyptian field codes. These were implanted when Osiris came to Earth at the beginning of the age of Taurus in 4320 BC. Later, a blow was delivered to the Syrian codes when Osiris's phallus was taken off by Set. This is very secret stuff. Osiris is a green god like Dionysus, the god of wine. Osiris lost his phallus because Egypt was the zone for the codes called Blue Nile. He had to be dismembered to trigger the next stage of evolution of humans into the blue race expression of the 2D elemental realm. Humans needed to lose their role as the green expression of the elemental realm, so the trees and plants could be honored with this green expression. The shift for humans into the Blue Nile consciousness was how humans began to access their stellar codes. In the ancient days, the stellar codes were reserved for the pharaoh. He carried them to hold the field of the Blue Nile for the people. Now, as we enter the age of Aquarius, every human can attain stellar access. Subconsciously, you cut trees attempting to regain your green power. Deep inside, you fear the moment when Osiris lost his phallus, so you cut trees to prove to yourself that you are more powerful than they are. Having this power somehow makes you feel like you will not get castrated. However, this is an act of defiance against your male vulnerability. Remember, the emasculation of the male is what is killing your planet. Once that great blow happened to Osiris, Syrian codes were removed from 3D. Once you had the opportunity to discover them yourselves, and since 1994 that faculty is available again. The real point of Osiris is that you must remember your vulnerability. Most of you remember the days of the Blue Nile when you were like plants. You lived in exquisite synchronicity, and you breathed with the planet then, but you also felt like a plant, rooted to one place. You wanted free will, and this rooting grated on your minds and hearts. Imagine a great tree having as much sensitivity and awareness as you have. Then see that tree in a great forest next to a churning river. One day you come before that tree, and it has never seen a human before. From the tree's point of view, it created you, and you cut it down. Like Osiris, this tree is severed and begins an eternal search for its lost self, you. We Pleiadians can see that you are ready to reintegrate these vibrations. Remember, we can see the future. A very great number of you will choose to become magnificent trees in the new forests. There you will be for 500 to 10,000 years, silently observing Gaia's creativity. Maybe a human will walk by someday, maybe not. But in the next age, the forests will prevail, and not you humans. I, Sacha, do have to admit that I go into eternal contemplation and forget all about you. Then I wake up and remember you as if you are my dream in the dark night. You humans are the dream of the Pleiadians in the galactic night. Now, as all dreams are becoming reality, we Pleiadians are bringing you into the light. Gaia is the creative expression of biology, and to conceive of this as your central organizing force is what is most powerful for you now. She is the central beginning point of your awareness. She is gravity. Then all the other levels of her evolution and other dimensions develop her. As you move into the photon band, there will be a moment when the surface of Gaia will shift as the telluric forces shift her relationship to her iron crystal and multidimensional intelligences are able to access her libraries. Those in communion with the iron crystal of Gaia will welcome all the other intelligences who also share her space. You are only a keeper of Gaia if you are one who makes home for all beings who desire her. Do not worry. There is an infinity of time because time is already expanding. Have you noticed? You are losing interest in 4D dramas, 6D structures, and 8D organization, and you are dematerializing back into beings who simply want to flow with Gaia. You are immortal when you are in touch with the non-physical elements of yourselves. Your identity that is held in Gaia and extends through Alcyone to the galactic center. After you have fed and sheltered those who are called to you, the only way to help people is by getting them in touch with the non-physical attributes of themselves. Humans in touch with these attributes have little difficulty with Gaia's movements and expressions. How will you handle Gaia's transition? You will do this by working with her goddess alchemy. So let us go back into the blood now that you are truly expanded. Doesn't that feel great? Why not just be like that all the time? Notice that your resistance to this topic is less now that you have let go. Notice this because the Anunnaki are quickened by the energy in your blood. If you can remember the deep harmony and balance of the iron in your own blood resonating with the center of Gaia, you will not trigger archetypal forces that seem to be outside yourselves. In case you think we Pleiadians are unsophisticated about such things, do not be foolish enough to underestimate us. We know all about your tendencies to become destructive when you are gripped by apocalyptic belief systems. This tendency is modified when you move into the age of Aquarius because of the deep Aquarian tendency toward individualism. Belief systems are a result of groups, and Aquarians dislike group belief systems such as Nazism, communism, and Christianity. Now is the time, therefore, to go deeply into your blood, which is the very source of your individuality. You are in the middle of a great process of letting go and involvement in the blood field as it transmutes. What happens next is that the intelligence, mental body of the blood will become available to you as it is to our vehicle. Shamans have the ability to tune into this intelligence and utilize it for healing and joy. As I've said, you are becoming warriors of the heart. You will literally read the codes in your blood and figure out what's going on in your body. Then you will tell the doctors what they can do to assist you, and doctors will become healers again. Healers work with Gaia to enhance all realities. Indigenous healers can walk through the forest, and their blood informs them of which plant or herb to use for which ailment. They can attune to the health of the planet by reading the tree sap like blood. The Lacandan shamans of Chiapas are dying in their own forests, where they've been protecting the trees and plants for all individuals who have chosen to live with Gaia. Listen carefully to me, people. Your desire not to have this going on actually changes the people who really could alter your reality. What do I mean? In case you didn't know it, generals and bureaucrats think of themselves as being agents of your desires. If you don't care, they don't care. So what if a few more million die in agonizing starvation? But what if you care and you will not tolerate their evil insensitivity? New imprints are occurring on your planet. Many men are seeing what could happen to them if they continue to be angry at their wives. As we Pleiadians read you, these things are being more deeply thought out than you may be aware of at this time. Those of you who make home now will end up moving into the economy, schools, and communities, and you will be the builders of new realities for the age of Aquarius. We Pleiadians did not fully comprehend the nature of the sixth dimension, the dimension just above ourselves, until our vehicle had a vision when she was looking at the Acropolis in Athens in 1994. In November 1994, our vehicle was standing on a balcony staring at the Acropolis bathed in clear starlight, which is rare in Athens. Orion and Sirius were sparkling like diamond crystals, and she was contemplating the exquisite symmetry of the Parthenon. Suddenly the whole temple reformed exactly as it was in 600 BC, and the white marble perfection glowing in the night sky was the essence of true beauty. As she stood enthralled, lines of blue-white light began shooting off all the angles and curves of the structure, as if the northern lights were forming in the night sky behind the Parthenon. An immense geometrical field of complex angles grew off the Parthenon and spread into the night sky. She saw the light structures holding it in form since 600 BC. It looked like a new white Parthenon was being morphed on a computer screen to the stars. The next day she bought marble carvings of statues from the Athenian classical period. For the first time she saw ethereal beauty in the face of Athena, the exquisite geometry expressed in the simple drape of fabric on a body, and the soul proportions visible in tensed and healthy leg muscles, necklines, and arms. You all have the models of planetary beauty. In culture after culture there is exquisite art. You must refuse to support ugliness in any form. The short period in Athens from 800 to about 400 BC was a phase that came after thousands of years of war and struggle in the Mediterranean world. Finally, exhausted by interminable struggles, the city-states of the Athenian League attained a culture devoted totally to artistic beauty, personal freedom, and intrinsic harmony for a short while. This culture was seeded throughout the ancient world by Alexander the Great, and then it became part of the cultural basis of the Roman Empire. The Greeks demonstrated a new cultural form that could be the ideal model for city life in the age of Aquarius. This brilliant idea was lost in the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. How did you lose this vision based on conscious and willed cultural order? Your breakdown is much more serious than you realize. I, Sacha, am going to take you very deep into some archetypes that hold information about how you limit the powers of your will. I begin by consulting with Lucifer, the one who is said to be the angel who fell from God. I am Lucifer. You may regard me as one who is willing to take responsibility for pushing an issue to ultimate potential exposure. I am simply the dark side of the 6th dimension, but the light side cannot manifest without me. I am merely a force. If you have preconceived notions about me or any kind of negative feelings about me, then you don't respect raw power that can be used simply for good or for evil. I simply hold power implants in bodies, and it's your choice to activate them or not. If it weren't for me, 3D would be emotionless. Since evolution is required in the cosmos, time and place are necessities for any experience to occur. If it were not for basic force, there would be no 3D. I am the mirror of you that you will not look into. I am an angel from a higher dimension who was once in 3D. When I first came down, I was taken over by the Nibirians. Therefore, I know a lot about how the Anunnaki use the net. I am the perfect one to help you dissect the source of your inner violence creating your outer world. It is cosmic law that any being may choose to explore realities, You are the caretaker of your reality. You are the ones who must hold open your light plane so beings may freely come and go. However, I got caught by your lack of will and attention, and now it's time for you to realize that's what's happened to you. Your stories of me are all reflections of yourselves. Those of you who feel the most trapped in 3D talk about me all the time, and those of you who feel free in 3D never give me a thought. Meanwhile, I am the diversion that keeps you from seeing what the Anunnaki are doing in your world. Once upon a time, I came here because I wanted to be able to create like the Creator does. I noticed one day that there were all kinds of exciting things happening on Earth. Things were being created and formed like animals, crystals, and trees. I noticed that Earth was a place where creation is visible because it's dense, and time locates things. That's why it's a school for beings from 9 dimensions, and anybody can apply. I decided that if I was going to create as the Creator creates, I would come to Earth and figure out how to do it. I would come to learn just like all of you do. Here's my dilemma. To create, one must master the dimensional construct. When I got caught in 3D, I lost my ability to see the dimension that I came from. I am sure most of you know exactly what I mean. In fact, I am so lost here that I still can't tell you where I came from. I'm just stuck. I have many peers, many friends, and many of them came along with me. A whole group of us came, since I wasn't about to try it on my own. I am the light. That's what Lucifer means. I am light caught in matter. Therefore, I am the dark side of my own dimension. I operate like radiation because I spew. I feel frustrated and caught. I spew energy seeking my home. The work to be in your bodies in 3D, which each of you who has accessed multidimensionality is doing, helps me re-access my own vibration. Many of you are doing marvelous work and you deserve gold stars. The more you get into your bodies, the more all the denizens of the non-physical realms are being freed. As a fallen angel, I passed through 5D Pleiadian and 4D Anunnaki frequencies when I came down through the dimensions to Earth. I studied what they are doing with you, and I will tell you all about how the Anunnaki have tricked you regarding the Pleiadians, just as they tricked you into thinking that the devil, me, jerks you around. They've tricked you into thinking that somebody will rescue you. Beware of any rescue or charity. True assistance comes in something that prods you into waking up and strengthening your wills. The Anunnaki intervene and attempt to take your power away exactly when you have decided to actuate your original monad, your most significant I want versus I need. I, Lucifer, tell you, beware of the nurse, the doctor, the priest, the politician, and the Salvation Army ringing bells at Christmas. Beware of Faustian pacts for gaining more time on Earth. Accept charity only if you feel the other person's true generosity and not gratitude. Are you elevated by gifting, or do you feel yourself groveling? Walk down every path alone unless you feel ecstasy when a hand is extended, even if you have to starve.